about advancing religious freedom. I would say from the Muslim community, I would say a lot of people more than ever before are questioning religion, whether it be Jews, Muslim, or Christian, especially with the new generation. I remember when giving talks 5, 6 years ago, whether to be to universities or public schools or even Muslim schools, and the questions would be more about Sharia law, Sunni versus Shia. They'll ask about women rights and so forth. But now the questions have shifted. Why does God allow oppression? Why is there evil on earth? Why should we even follow religion? Religion is a burden. I can do whatever. I can just be a good person. Also, there's a lot of pressure from the outside. In following religion, especially in the Muslim community. So so you have internal and external pressure. Now, Dr. Tia, the one who spoke in the beginning, she talked about systematic racism. And I think we have to realize that all this stuff is not accidental. That happens. I would believe that is naive to think so. Things just don't happen the way they happen, and you have 5% of the people who have control 95% of the wealth. And that being said, it is very important to understand that we live in a secular time, in a secular country, and then there's goods and bads to that. And part of that is separation of religion from life. So in institutions and schools, we're not allowed to talk about God or mention God. So then also in work areas. So I would say there's a study that says that the first generation that comes here, the first thing they lose is their culture, and then their language, and then their religion. And imagine you have 1,000 years of history of, like, say, for example, somebody comes from, let's say, Syria, and they have 1,000 years of lineage from their family who was say Muslim, and then within 20 years of living, that can be lost. So it's very important in advancing the Muslim community and advancing religious freedom. I think all freedoms, religions, we must understand we're not 100% the same. And I do a lot of interfaith. And I know a lot of times it can be seen like, Barney, I love you, I love me. And there has to be love. But I think there has to be something beyond the formality, where we can have discussion where we disagree with each other, but we understand one another. In order to understand one another, we must be direct, and we must realize that we will have opposing views. So I'll give an example. I work with a lot of pastors and some rabbis in Tampa with the opiate crisis, with mental health and mental wellness. And we want the best for our generations to have stable minds and stable homes, right? So then we have things that we work on. But what we do is I do it personally. I sit with people personally. I go to a restaurant, take them out to eat, and have conversation and say, look, this is what I actually believe. So then when it comes to sensitive issues, whether it be the LGBT issue, whether it be issue about what's happening in Palestine and Israel, whether what's happening in the Muslim world, we're able to disagree and not necessarily agree about everything, but at least we're able to not get beyond the formalities of things and understand one another and our backgrounds, and then work on the things that we actually agree upon. And, whether it's ending poverty, whether it's things during the pandemic and so forth. Now, one thing I would say that is very important in advancing religious freedom is understanding cases that are happening, whether it's equal protection, what can be spoken about in schools, what can be taught in schools. And I'm talking about even the private sector and even Islamic schools. I mean, being able to teach, of course, in no way would we want to promote violence. This is what I'm talking about. But there is a push by the right to enforce or teach Islamic world religions in a way where it's not, the best way it can be taught. So now we're working on working with officials, educators, to make sure that when religion is taught, let it be taught by those who understand the religion, and that'll make a world of a difference.